Imagine you're a high school student and you're sitting in class. You're minding your own business, but sitting next to you is the class douchebag. He's got red bloodshot eyes and he is high as shit off the good za. This is the quote-unquote bad student that's always starting fights with people. They'll randomly make inappropriate jokes during class, and rather doing his work, he spends his time arguing with the teacher and is on his phone the entire class period.
Your wife is where I'm from, so I know you know her attitude, so you know that we have the same attitude. So touch me again and I will slap you the same way your wife beats you at home.
Let's say that one day he gets into an argument with the teachers. He starts insulting the teacher, he starts cursing at her, and then he hits the teacher until finally she has had enough and she walks out of the class, quitting her job.
No, I'm walking right out the door. I won't ever be back.
Ended up in urgent care with a concussion because a student got upset and lashed out.
The sad truth is, this hypothetical scenario has been a reality for like hundreds, if not thousands of teachers across the country. Becoming a teacher has always been seen as a very sacrificial and oftentimes a difficult job, which is why it's been seen as such a noble profession. In recent years, however, it seemed that the frustration of this job has been way too much for many teachers to handle, which has started a huge wave of mass resignations.
Many schools are facing a shortage of teachers unlike any they have ever seen before.
But now another cause for worry has surfaced, a teacher shortage in virtually every region of the country.
There is a growing crisis in American education, an extreme shortage of teachers.
In the middle of what many are calling a nationwide teacher shortage, one question looms. Who is going to teach our kids when people who don't want to teach anymore leave their jobs?
Teachers across the country are quitting their jobs left and right. In addition to this, there has just been a declining number of new teachers entering the workforce as people are just no longer choosing to pursue this profession.
In Pennsylvania, they're actually having a new teacher certification shortage. They are looking at how many teachers are getting certified in that state to teach in that state.
For certain school districts in bigger cities like Los Angeles or New York, it really hasn't been that difficult to find replacements for all the teachers that are quitting. But for school districts in more rural areas, this mass quitting of teachers has resulted in a crisis-level teacher shortage, with some schools even having to temporarily go virtual due to them just being so understaffed and not enough people are willing to teach at these schools.
There just aren't enough employees. Reports show most teachers are leaving as a result of inadequate pay and irregular work hours. In some areas across the U.S., the shortage has forced schools to go back to virtual learning, which is worrying other administrators.
This crisis of teachers quitting has even started a trend on TikTok with the hashtag #TeacherQuitTalk having millions and millions of views. But why?
Why
Why have the teachers of America decided that it was no longer worth it to stay in the classroom and educate our youth? I have recently been looking into these teachers' videos on TikTok, articles, etc., where these teachers are explaining the horrible state of American public education today. And this is what I want to talk about today. Why are teachers quitting, and why are so many teachers coming out and speaking out on how much of a nightmare their jobs have been? The first issue, and probably the most talked about issue, is the behavior of the students. There has been a huge, and I've seen this myself, a huge increase of disrespectful behavior in Gen Z and Gen Alpha compared to past decades, especially after the COVID-19 pandemic, with many teachers attributing COVID-19 as the point where they started to notice this massive shift. Before anybody tries to call me a teacher's pet or a bootlicker, I just want to make it clear that I am not a teacher's pet. It's not like I was the person that would go out of my way to snitch on all of the bad students or remind the teacher of homework.
Also, they were smoking.
Yeah.
One of them was vaping.
Hey, I'm a rat. I ain't no snitch.
That was not me at all. But it's gotten to the point now where you don't even have to be a teacher's pet in order to recognize that the shit most public school teachers in the U.S. are dealing with is just wrong.
The reason why they're quitting is because these kids are mean and they're making the classroom a war zone.
Some teachers are coming home having endured being hit, kicked, bit, slapped by students.
I have been cursed at by both students and parents. I have been hit, punched repeatedly.
The reason I quit teaching was because of student behaviors. because I could not handle the constant chaos and disrespect.
One of the biggest reasons I decided to leave teaching was because of student behaviors.
Students will intentionally try to mess with teachers.
This is what happened to a teacher who took away a student's phone. The student first pepper sprayed her teacher in the classroom before doing it again in the hallway as she demanded her phone back.
There's no reason why a teacher should have to put up with their students physically assaulting them, throwing chairs at them, cursing them out, or insulting them. According to data from the National Center of Education Statistics, 87% of public schools reported that the COVID-19 pandemic has negatively impacted student socio-emotional development during the 2021 to 2022 school year. 56% of respondents attributed increased incidents of classroom disruptions from student misconduct. 48% said that there was more rowdiness outside of the classroom since the pandemic and more active disrespect towards teachers and staff. As for myself, I will literally see videos all the fucking time of students that are fighting each other or students that are fighting the teacher. Student fights are kind of normal, it's a thing, it happens. Students will get in fist fights with each other, but to get into a fist fight with a teacher, that's another level of just out of control behavior. And I see this happening. I see videos of this happening, not just at my own high school, but I see videos from other high schools on social media of the exact same things. And one thing that I notice is a lot of students will find it funny to intentionally mess with the teachers and make them upset for literally no reason at all. There were so many people I would see that would make personal insults towards the teacher, like making fun of their weight or their physical appearance, for literally no fucking reason at all. It also explains a lot why people that are recent high school graduates are choosing not to pursue teaching as a career. Because why on earth would anybody want to become a teacher after seeing the way that their own teachers were treated in high school? It's mainly the fault of the parents and the administrators. While I was watching these TikTok videos of teachers explaining the reasons why they quit, many of them explained that the deciding factor was not even the student's behavior itself, but rather the lack of disciplinary support from the parents and the administration in response to these students' bad behaviors.
I hate you! You're ruining
my
life!
Remember our agreement? We have an agreement about how we behave at a store, Herbert.
Give me candy! Give me candy! I want candy! I want candy marshmallows!
He sure looks like a handful.
When he gets like this, I just don't know how to make him stop.
Have you ever tried beating his ass?
Whenever a teacher would try and inform the parents of the student's bad behavior, the parents, a lot of times, they just don't care and they don't discipline their children, which leads to the child continuing their bad behavior in the classroom. Whenever the teachers try to pursue school-administered discipline, like writing them up for detention, the administration often doesn't care and they ignore their written referrals.
I'm here to tell you right now, we don't care.
Let me tell you
we don't care.
I mean, yes, the problem is your kid. The problem is also you as a parent. But the problem is also the administration who continuously makes these stupid excuses for these kids' bad behavior.
Parents, when are you going to stop letting your kids come to school and embarrass you?
Sometimes the parents are even offended that the teachers are complaining about their children's bad behavior, and they begin to become very defensive over their child. They begin to defend their child.
Parents would make excuses for their kids, excuses for behavior, excuses for their grades, everything. It was never their kids' fault. I'm actually in a local moms group for my area, and lo and behold, someone who posted anonymously was saying that 2 different teachers said that her son's behavior was bad, and these must be horrible teachers who shouldn't even be in the profession. 2 of them. And yes, I did say to her, well, if a 3rd teacher says that it's your son's behavior, you might want to reevaluate.
The administration doesn't want to anger the parents or have them get defensive like that, so they just don't pursue any discipline out of fear of the parents' reaction. So the teachers will try and explain to the students why what they're doing is wrong, why they're behaving badly. But if their parents and if the administrators are also not willing to explain it to them, and if they're not willing to back the teachers up, then there's only so much that the teacher can do. The teacher can't put a kid in detention if the administration doesn't allow it, and the teacher can't discipline the kid at home, obviously, if the parents don't want the kid to be disciplined. So really, the teacher is left helpless, and they just end up having to put up with constant bad behavior that goes unpunished and that they cannot really do anything about. The next reason why teachers are quitting is because it has become so much more difficult difficult to actually teach the students. Students are becoming unteachable in the United States of America. What do I mean by that? Even without the additional issues of their bad behavior or whatnot, simply the job of teaching the curriculum to the students has become much more difficult than it used to be. The first reason why students are becoming unteachable is the declining attention spans. Over the course of 20 years, the average student attention span has decreased from 2.5 minutes to just 45 seconds, and the results are really showing in the classroom. It has become increasingly difficult to get students to focus on and pay attention long enough to complete a single assignment or read through a paragraph.
This is your brain, and this is your brain on ADHD.
One thing that I have really seen teachers complaining about is how they are unable to compete with the phone in the classrooms for their students' attention. Oftentimes, I see many people blaming the teachers and just saying that they're just not making their lessons as creative or as interesting enough to keep the students' attention. Let's be so for real, guys.
Be honest.
I am being honest. If we're really being honest with ourselves, it does not matter how fun or how interesting a teacher can try and make a project or a worksheet. There is no way that that project or that worksheet is going to give the student the same amount of dopamine as scrolling through TikTok or Instagram will. Since most schools don't allow teachers to take away phones from the students anymore, there's just a bunch of students that will go throughout the school year without paying attention to a single lesson in class, and they spend every single day of class on their phone with their AirPods in the entire time. Another reason why teachers are finding it so difficult to teach students nowadays is because of the education gap. There is a policy, it's called the No Child Left Behind Act. These were laws that were introduced back in 2001 by the Bush administration, and these laws made it to where schools were not able to hold a child back a grade unless the parents give explicit permission. What this means is that ever since then, it doesn't matter if you actually know the subject matter. It doesn't matter if you actually do the assigned homework. It doesn't matter if you pass the test or even if you showed up to class half the time. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. I tell you, it just doesn't matter.
At the end of the year, you get to move on to the next grade, regardless of whether or not you did any of the actual work.
Congratulations! Congratulations! Congratulations!
The inevitable result of this is that now you have a bunch of children that don't care about their education and parents that don't care to help them, doing no work and moving up a grade despite the fact that they are very behind academically and really are not fit to be in the grade that they're moving up to. This is something that makes it extremely difficult for teachers to teach, as not all students are starting on the same academic level.
I teach 7th grade, they are still performing on the 4th grade level. They still performing on the 4th grade level. Ain't nobody talking about how they just keep moving, passing them on. They just keep passing them on, 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 passing them on. I can put as many zeros in this grade book as I want to. They're gonna move that child to the 8th grade next year.
For example, how on earth is a teacher supposed to teach 6th grade English class if there are 5 kids that are at an 8th grade reading level, there are 5 more kids that are at a 6th grade reading level, and then the rest of the kids in the class are at a 3rd or a 4th grade reading level? Due to the No Child Left Behind Act, it has become next to impossible to put together lessons that are easy enough for the academically behind students to understand while still being challenging enough for the academically advanced students to actually learn something from them. And a lot of class time is spent trying to bring the students that are behind up to speed on stuff that they should have learned years ago instead of actually teaching the lesson that's at hand. Another reason we have is, of course, the low salary. Next up, we have the criminally low salary of many teachers in the public school system.
I'm sick of worrying about the government. I can't eat. I'm broke, nigga. I'm broke.
Now, I'm not going to lie. This problem does not apply to every single state because there are some states, such as my home state of California, where teachers are paid a very good amount each year. However, this is not the case for every state. This is not the case for many other states, particularly the southern and the rural states like South Dakota and Mississippi, which only pays about like $47,000 per year. The salary of like a fast food or restaurant worker in California is a teacher salary in a lot of these more rural states. Not only are these teachers dealing with lower salaries, but a lot of times they will be dealing with a low school budget. One of the problems for school districts, particularly school districts in impoverished areas, is the lack of budget puts much more strain on the teachers themselves. For example, whenever there is a school that is in a low income area that cannot afford to hire a lot of teachers, a lot of times what ends up happening is that they will literally just make the class sizes larger. So instead of having one teacher that's teaching a class of 25 to 30 kids, they will literally just put 50 kids in one single teacher's classroom just to save money. I don't know if you've ever tried to control a classroom with half 100 kids, but that shit's not easy. And all of these problems with the kids being poorly behaved that I I previously talked about is now amplified by 100% with these larger class sizes. There are more students that misbehave, there's more students that are not paying attention, and the teachers are often just unable to control or keep an eye on all of them, making these larger classes just essentially unmanageable. The lack of school budget also means that the teachers are underfunded and are unable to afford the supplies, the technology, or the assistance that they need to successfully teach their classes, such as Chromebooks or additional support for their special education students. In conclusion, the mass resignation of teachers in the United States of America, it really highlights a very deep-rooted crisis within the education system. Honestly, if you're in school right now, be nice to your teachers. That's it. If you're a student, be nice. Smile at your teachers, pay attention. Honestly, that's all you really can do. If you want to help out in a little way, be nice, be appreciative of the teachers, say thank you, listen during class. It's really so simple. And I think the more people start doing that, the more we can start moving towards better change.